Welcome to Friction Points, a focused 30-minute conversation around the most pressing issues facing credit unions today and practical solutions to move forward with. My name is Buell Collins. I will be your host today, and we are going to tackle one of the most sensitive issues in the industry, collections. And during a time when members are under real financial pressure, collections become more than a process. It really becomes a moment of truth where credit unions will face the idea that people come first, but when leaders are looking at it, essentially saying, okay, do we stay true to our people helping people mission, or do we really have to look out for the institution? And the truth is we have to do both, right? And this friction isn't about policy, it's about identity. So how do we show that kindness without compromising that safety and soundness for the institution? It's a big question that we're going to tackle today. And this session explores how culture, compassion, and cooperative values can guide us through one of the most difficult balancing acts in our industry. So we got to walk that line and figure out how to do that there, and be responsible and compassionate when doing so. And to talk about that with me today, I have an awesome panel of guests. My moderator, Mr. Zach Christensen from Mitchell Stankovic and Associates, Abby Porgin of AKUVO, Senior Vice President over there, and Matthew Hart, VP of Collections at Uncle Credit Union. And for this great panel, we will stick around for about 15 minutes afterwards to do a quick Q&A. If you guys want to put your questions in the chat, we'd love to see that there. And Zach, with that, take it away, my friend.
Thank you so much, Buell. Man, you are continuing to just rock it as the opener here for the Friction Points. And welcome everyone. We're really excited to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining us in these fast-paced sessions. We heard from some people that it was a little aggressive with how many of these we were doing, but there's so many great things that are happening out there that we didn't want to not take the opportunity. So I'm not going to take a whole bunch of time of really kind of setting the stage here. I think Buell did a wonderful job, but we are obviously in a moment in time where cost of everything is rising, which means our members are going to once again have to make the decision on what's most important to them. And unfortunately, financial institutions, their loan tends to not be, because food and well-being for their families and the people that they support tends to be the first things that they go for, which understandably so. But that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities for us to do more and be more for our members, like credit unions have always done. And so I'm really excited because we have a couple of great people here with us today, and we've been working with AKUVO for quite some time. And so, Abby, I am very, very excited to have you here, and I am looking for you on my thing. Here we go. Bring you up. How are you doing today?
Hey, Zach. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having AKUVO on the panel today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're excited to have a new voice. We've put Steve Castagna through the ringer. I think he finally ran away and said it's time for somebody else. So excited to hear from you. And then we have a wonderful executive who's working in the collections field directly. Also, they are users of the AKUVO system. And we have Matt Hart from Uncle Credit Union. How you doing today, Matt?
Doing well, Zach. Thank you. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I've had the opportunity and chance to get to know you a little bit more, doing some work with you all at Uncle as well. So let's get into this, because what you were talking about before we started the session was kind of exciting, and I want everybody else to hear it. So, Abby, I'm going to start with you. And what does member hurt look like today? How do we recognize it earlier? Can AI do that?
AI can do anything
Right?
nowadays, but yes. Thanks for the question, Zach. So, really, delinquency is a lagging indicator. Honestly, by the time that the member misses a payment, the hardship's usually in place, right, for 30, 60, maybe even 90 days at that point in time. So the real signal in behavior is coming before the missed payment, right? And that delinquency begins. Financial institutions like Matt and Uncle are really seeing an overwhelming amount of things like partial payments, engagement later in the delinquency cycle, members just going silent overall, honestly. And it's not really a sign of avoidance. It's more so they're struggling. They know they're struggling, and they're kind of afraid of the conversation, right? They don't know how to handle it. And honestly, what we're seeing nationally is the data is consistent across every survey we see, right? More than half of the Americans out there are really feeling financial stress right now. And it's not just a low income story. Even households earning over $100,000 annually are reporting inflation strain on their budgets, right? It's hitting a lot of people in the United States of America. And that pressure for institutions is sitting inside their portfolio today. So it might just be a little bit invisible because it's earlier on in the phase, but it's there and not known until that first payment is missed. So I think the key is really to put the data, the wealth of information that institutions have already in their platform, in their systems of record, to paint a picture of that member's financial health, right? And putting that into action. So there's a few things that I know Matt at Uncle and lots of other credit unions out there are looking at. And I think one of the key ones is cash flow signals. You have that information. A collector has to go out and look for it. In a lot of the technology that you have today, you have to say, okay, is there, a consistent income pattern with direct deposit? And is it showing some irregular deposits based off of their historical direct deposits, indicating a reduction in income or a loss in income potentially? Is there a change to how their account activity is looking, right? Did they typically go out and spend $200 at Target every week, and now, it's lower? Like, what is their pattern? Is there an income disruption signal going on here? And a lot of the technology today has that, but it's not surfacing it into actionable insights and outreach at that stage. So I think that is one key area that can be leveraged using a technology that can go ahead and mine that information. It's not a problem that the data is there. It's there. It's just putting it into action.
Oh, the age-old story of credit unions. But really a lot of people out there. Data's right there, but being able to put it into action, you're right, is not easy. If you don't mind, I'm gonna, Matt, if you want to, touch on anything that she said, but then, I am curious about what your credit union approach looks like in practice, not theory. We could talk theory all day long, but how do you make that happen?
Yeah, and to kind of expand on what Abby was talking about, yeah, we encourage our collectors to review the accounts, in some detail before they make their phone calls. So sure, we have goals, productivity goals, and everything that we're putting on them, but they're not so aggressive that they feel like they have to just call, right? We want them to look at the account first, but even in early collections, and take a look at, is this a new person we're seeing? Is this a 2-year-old loan and this is the first time they're delinquent? Okay, that's an important thing to know before you make that phone call. Or are the notes a mile long and we've got broken promises for the last 2 years? Okay, doesn't mean we can't help, but at least we know what we're dealing with. And then it's a mindset really to, when they make that phone call, to, yeah, you want to try to get a payment, you want to get a commitment, but you also want to ask questions to get to the heart of the matter, right? What is causing this member to have trouble, right? So one of the things we're in the middle of doing here is we are putting everyone through it's a certified credit union financial counselor program through America's Credit Unions. So when they finish this, it's about a 12-week program. They become a certified credit union financial counselor. You can see it on my LinkedIn. It says CCUFC. And what that is, that's if you're really going to be a financial counselor, right, you're going to meet with members for hours on end and that sort of thing. We're not really expecting our collectors to do that. But this program, what it does is it gives you a lot of perspective on what causes delinquency in a member's life, and the various life events that they could be going through, and what are the possible solutions they could be looking at. Who should they be talking to? Um, what is not just what is their credit score going to do, but what is that really, what changes can they make to affect their credit score, which will help them? Because a lot of times, maybe they could get a personal loan that could sort of consolidate everything, but they don't qualify because they're perpetually delinquent. Um, our collectors can speak a little more to that. So we're putting them through, and that gives them that kind of tool in their tool chest to kind of dig deeper with the members. And when the members are willing, of course, you have to have a willing member, but to tell you what's going on, there's a lot of solutions they can offer. We also partner with a financial counseling company that will, free of charge, do a financial counseling session with the member. So we can refer them to that if they want to do a more detailed, deep dive into their budgeting and that sort of thing. Because in a lot of cases, in some cases, there's obviously something that's gone wrong, right? Members lost their job, death in the family. Those kinds of things we can work with them with. And we have all the standard, tools there, skip a pay, loan extensions, forbearance, settlements, even if we have to go that route. We can talk to them. Are you a homeowner? You're a homeowner. Have you ever thought about getting a home equity line of credit? That you can get a lower rate on and consolidate all your bills. So we have those things, but if they want to do that deeper dive and they're willing, that financial counseling service is something they can talk to. So in the past, that's what we've done, a lot of that. I know there's a lot of manually looking at the account and trying to interpret everything. But yeah, not to jump too far ahead, but what we're looking forward to is, what AI can do, which is taking all that data that's in the account, and not even in the account just, but third-party data, looking at macroeconomic situations, even regionally, and giving that to the doing two things actually. One is prioritizing who do we reach out to, and how do we reach out to them? What's the best channel for that? For this particular member, maybe they're most likely going to self-cure, so we don't really need to be having a collector call them every 2 or 3 days. Maybe just a reminder text is good enough. But for another member, the data may say, hey, no, something's gone wrong with this member. You need to reach out quickly. And we want to prioritize those members, and we want to reach out quickly and try to catch them before things have gotten beyond the hope of repair, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can maybe do that loan extension early, and give them time to find that job, or to pay those funeral bills or medical bills or whatever they may be, and then come back to us and be able to be still on track without their credit score ruined. So yeah, it's a lot of that right now. It's a mindset, and it's a lot of that manually looking at that data and training collectors to do that. But yeah, we are looking forward to the technology that's coming.
I just real quickly, there was a really impactful statement that was made way back in like 2020 when we all went virtual, and we were doing a lot of this virtual engagement and talking to people, and we had Cynthia Campbell, who at the time worked for Balance, but her passion in this area was very strong, and one of the things that she talked about was shame in regards to money, and the opportunity for suicides because of it is really, really strong. And I don't say that to bring this down, but there is, like, people are so ashamed with where they are with their money that they can't have a conversation, where oftentimes the credit union is wanting to have that conversation. And so I'm curious, Matt, what you all do, whether it be in written form or on the phone, and maybe what AKUVO kind of supports here. But I've been in collections before, and you get a letter that does say, call us to, make arrangements. Well, it's like, well, I don't want to call you because it feels like I'm going to be, in trouble. Whereas if it started with, hey, we can help make this right. All we got to do is get you on the phone. This is messaging just like that, a more empathetic, personalized, hey, we get it, and let us help. type thing. Do you all do that? Is there something that you train your collectors on when they're talking to people as well, in addition to the America's Credit Union's certification?
Yeah, and it gets back to that mindset. When they're talking to a person, number one, don't take it personally. A lot of times you get a member on the phone, and you're right, they don't want to have this conversation. They're not happy about it, and they will sometimes take it out on the collector, right? What we train our collectors to do is to set that aside, stay calm, talk to the member, be empathetic, right? Oh, I'm sorry this is happening to you, right? And try to let them know, hey, we're on your side. Um, we don't want to take your car, right? We don't want it. um, besides the fact that we don't want to do that to you, we're going to lose a lot of money too. So we don't want to go that route. We want to help you keep this car. We want to help your credit score stay where it is. We don't want to make it worse. So, um, maybe if we can just talk a little about what's going on with you, we can come up with some solutions. We have programs we can talk to you about, we can offer. And so trying to steer the conversations in that direction
Yeah.
versus the more combative collections conversations that the industry can be famous for sometimes. Um, and really staying on that track, no matter what the member throws at you.
Mhm.
Remembering it's not personal. They don't know you. They're just yelling at a voice on the phone, and they're probably just mad about what's going on in their life, not at you. So always trying to stay, even in late stage collections, right? There may not be a lot we can do at this point, but we can still try, right? And we can still express empathy and let them know, hey, we want to help you. If you want to work with us, we will try our best to find something, and that's obviously a lot easier early on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Abby, feel free to jump in there, but I
Yeah.
also want to talk about the fact that AKUVO is pushing forward with technology, making sure that you're integrating as much as you can. And one of the key things with what we're doing with CUS and the CUS portal is that we're trying to bring those state-of-the-art tools to the small credit unions as well, because
Yeah.
they shouldn't have to, their members shouldn't suffer because of that. And so would also love for you to touch on the essentials product that you offer and how we have that through CUS. And we'll give more information on that at the end of the show as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
would love your
Yeah.
insight.
Most definitely. So, access to modern collections tools like self-service portals, texting solutions, automation, that should not be a privilege of size. So, AKUVO obviously offers what we call a signature product for the larger institutions, but we then rolled out our essentials product because we felt passionate that a $20 million or $200 million, excuse me, credit union that's serving working families deserves the same capability as a $2 billion institution, right? And so Essentials is purpose built for that reality. It has the core capabilities to meet the member where they are. So that could be digital outreach through text, email, through an online portal for them to interact, to help provide information about why they might be delinquent, set up promises without any human interaction. Because again, that can be a bit of an avoidance on their end with that shame underlying their current financial situation. So, giving those options to the smaller institutions through the Essentials product is a game changer for those members. They deserve the same service and the same capability to be able to get in touch with someone, but without actually having that human interaction, which they might be avoiding sometimes. And so, automation through identifying who needs that early outreach sooner based on some of those risk signals that we know is in that data is going to then be able to be delivered through all of those channels, including obviously human touch, but also those digital channels that consumers just are a lot more comfortable engaging within today. And so they get a lot more results as well as far as information about why they might be in the situation that they're in. They might feel more comfortable typing that into their their phone and responding to you over text with that information rather than getting on the phone with you. So Essentials really delivers that to the smaller institutions that are going to looking to obviously provide that service to their membership base.
Yeah. I'm glad now that I brought this up to you all at the beginning, and then we'll get to that last question for you, Matthew. But I was telling you a conversation I was having when I was discussing this upcoming session, and I had a colleague that talked about the fact that when they're doing their member journey mapping, and she works in the kind of the member experience side of things, right? And so you often think about that of, how are they interacting with our services and our digital platforms, and where are the friction points there, or what are they running into? But she says as part of that journey map is the expectation that if they are in that with a loan, that there's this possibility that they could go into collections. It's not something we're trying to foretell about them. However, having that as part of the journey map, and so what they do is they include that as kind of like this branch that may happen, and then what that looks like as they're trying to bring them back into a place where they're on track with the credit union and continuing that work. You may not be doing that, or Abby may not have heard that from other clients, but thoughts on that, and kind of where that integration lies, because this is about, the title is Collections is a Member Service. Well, it should be included in all levels, including where they might interact with your credit union. Matthew, any thoughts from you first?
Sure, yeah. I mean, and we're one of those that isn't that we don't currently have that kind of a roadmap with collections included, but it's definitely an interesting concept, and I think you're right. I think it is still part of the member service experience, and it really should be included in that sort of overall roadmap, and integrated, with all the communication channels and such. To touch on another thing Abby was talking about, texting, for example,
Mhm.
maybe you don't have like us a company-wide texting solution, but in collections you can go out and there are ways to get one, and AKUVO actually offers that, and a native texting solution, which we went live on a few months ago. So and then when the overall company gets a provider, and then we'll have to look at how we integrate that, but um, those things are very important, right? And having that overall roadmap is real. That would be the best way to really make sure you're all on the same page. Everybody understands what happens, and it's not, you get this sometimes with, well, you need to talk to collections. I don't know anything about what they do, or they'll reach out to you somehow, some way, right? Being able to, for a frontline branch person or call center person, to be able to explain, no, this is what our collections team does, and this is how it works. This is how they will contact you, or how you can contact them, and have all that at their fingertips and be familiar with it because they use the same tools. That's really a strong integrated solution. Yeah.
I love that. Abby, any thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I know Uncle uses our native texting option, and I believe Virtual Collector, which is our digital
Yep.
self-service portal. And those are two key elements to the roadmap of the member journey. If they do enter that collections world, then they have a way to interact with your organization that is not just over the phone. And it gives them access all hours of the day, right? Because they can access that link or respond to that text at any point in time. They don't have to wait for staff to be behind the phone. And one thing that AKUVO is doing that's taking that to the next level is it's enhancing both the self-service side of things in texting and the portal to offer what we call agentic resolution.
Mm.
So right now it's click a button and you can schedule a call. But we have in pilot our agentic virtual collector, we're calling it engagement assistant, that is allowing an interactive chat type experience. So that member can, have a conversation with AI, and they can set up a promise schedule, they can make a payment using a previous payment method, they can schedule calls. We can even maybe potentially route them back to the phone, right? A warm
Yeah.
transfer back to the collector. And those are really exciting things that we're doing with AI on the agentic side that will give those members not only a way to contact us, but a very solid way to even self-resolve, right?
Mhm.
That account.
That's perfect. And what a perfect segue to my last question for Matthew. But I was number one, I was thinking that as well. Like if I had had this moment where I could talk to somebody and know I didn't have to look at them, or even really hear their voice and still get kind of that feeling, that'd be great. You'll have to do some research on like what names are soothing to people, and then call this agentic virtual collector that name, like Zola or something like that. Um, but Matthew, that is perfect because we know Uncle's, laying out AI strategy right now, as many are. And personally, how do you see that being effective and affecting members in the future and supporting all of the efforts that you and your team are trying to do?
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing and this is not collection specific, but we're using a AI partner for underwriting, and that is obviously helps collections because if you're doing more quality underwriting, you can either do more lending or you'll have less in collections, one of the two. And either way helps collections be more efficient and focus on who we need to focus on. So we're already seeing some benefits from that. On the collection side, we touched on the ability of AI to instantly analyze accounts, analyze members, prioritize them beyond the traditional buckets of 30 to 60 days, 60 to 90, depending on loan type, right? It can go far beyond that and analyze spending activity, deposit activity, employment information, right? There's all kinds of third-party data that AI can pull in, and let us know and change our bucket strategy to make these buckets like who do we need to call right now, whether they're 2 days delinquent. Oh, maybe they're not even delinquent, right? Maybe they could use a text on the due date that helps remind them, um, or whether they're 2 or 20 or 60, right? These are the people you need to call first. Whereas this person at 15, they always pay at 15. Nothing's changed in their life, so you can just put them in the digital bucket. Um, and so being able to do that, and then kind of the next step after that is not only tell us who to prioritize, who to call, but here is the solution we think you should be looking at with this member, right? You should be suggesting to skip a pay, or this is a prime candidate for forbearance, or, things are really bad in the situation. You might want to think about a settlement based on the value of the secured property, the collateral, um, because you're going to be better off than if you go out and repo this car, right? So that's what we're looking for coming up in the future with AI. The agentic AI is, that sounds very interesting as well. And to it's like having another collector, right? It can process all of this information on the spot, and then still route the member back to a person if that's who they want to talk to. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what the virtual collector does right now for us. The member can request a phone call back, or they can self-service, and that we're
Love
already
it.
seeing benefit from that. And we've only been on it for a few months.
I love it. I love it. Well, we are just about time, and I'm sure Buell is chomping, but in like one or two words, what's one thing you would just say, go do, look at, research, implement? What is one thing for the audience here to do around collections and member service? Matthew, you first, and then we'll end with Abby.
Yeah, I mean, digital. I mean, we all know that. Texting, emailing, and the other thing would be, yeah, I look into AI and what it can do, whether you have a partner already or like AKUVO, or if you don't, hey, I'd reach out to AKUVO. They have been an excellent partner for us.
Love it. Abby.
Yeah, I would just challenge every leader in this room to figure out where you are on the AI spectrum, what's your appetite culturally as well. Be
Sure.
honest about that, and then figure out where you want to go. What are your steps to get there? And that'll help you kind of understand where you are and define exactly what baby steps you need to take to kind of move forward. Um, the members sitting in your portfolio are obviously under financial pressure, what we're going through the economic world today, right? And we need to make sure that we're leveraging all of the fast moving technology that's available to us and the data that's sitting right under us. So I just challenge everyone to figure out where you are on the AI spectrum and where you want to be so that you can really understand your baby steps to getting there. And obviously partner with institutions that are going to help drive your prioritization and make your teams a lot smarter and your members with the experience that they need to get in touch with you, not only in a human aspect, but through all of the digital channels that are available.
I love it. Well, thank you very much. And I'm passing it off to Buell.
No, that was awesome. Thank you guys very much, Abby. Great insight there. Matthew, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that. I was really liking the point when Abby said put the data to work, as we like to say here, ideas into action. I know we have a ton of data out there in the credit union space, and what do we do with it and how do we use it? And that's where I think AKUVO can step in and help that. When Matthew talked about getting that additional education for the staff, that was just an awesome point. I think that if we can help develop our staff to deliver that higher level of service, that's how we punch above our weight as credit unions and you know keep that personal connection. And another interesting point that was made there was this is actually one example where AI can actually be the more human touch due to the members being uncomfortable with that face-to-face conversation. Zach talked about the embarrassment maybe a little bit, or that sensitivity when you are going through a rough time and not wanting to necessarily talk to somebody that you see at the credit union every day, but maybe that, Sarah, the chatbot or whoever it is that more human touch. So that's very interesting. Awesome stuff, guys. Really appreciate that. So we'll have a Q&A here for a second. I want to remind everyone that June 11th at 10 a.m., we have our next episode of Friction Points. To watch that episode or to learn more about AKUVO, please head over to cus.mitchellstankovic.com or scan this QR code that will be coming up on your screen. There it is. You can learn more about AKUVO's offering and that plan that we talked about. But thank you guys all for joining us here in the chat. And any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Zach, do you have anything?
I could probably go 1,000 hours into the AI side of things. And I obviously see that the chatbot is really crucial. And like I said, for me, I was just thinking that 24 years old was not that long ago, but it really was. There definitely was not any AI happening when I was 24. But I know I could have gotten myself out of some stuff because I hated talking to people. I grew up in a place where I always handled my stuff and took care of things. I didn't talk to my parents about it. And so me having to call the bank and actually talk to them. And then when I got off the phone, I'm like, oh yeah, it wasn't that bad. But it still didn't quite get me over the hump. And if I had the opportunity to just sit there and text somebody and be like, hey, I am struggling, help me out. And they're like, well, here's what we can do. What do you want? I think is just vital. How is the beta testing going on that, Abby? I guess we
It's
could start
going
there.
Yeah, it's going really, really great. And the cool thing about the AI agents that we're launching for texting and the digital channel is not only do they give the member that experience and interaction that they're looking for, but on the back end, we're actually implying the sentiment. So we are kind of interpreting exactly how is that conversation going? Are they really frustrated or are they warm and open to conversations? And that sentiment can then be used to determine what action to take 3 days from now, right? Because you might have a extremely frustrated individual that's kind of closed off that you might not want to reach out to as frequently because your chances, right, of assisting them in their situation are a bit lower than the others. So sentiment is huge in the agentic and AI world, and beta is going really well. Our customers are really loving getting there for their members. We also have, and I know we're focused a lot on the member side, but we also have AI in the collectors world that is in beta at this point in time. So Matt, I don't know if you heard about this, but it's in pilot with 5 of our customers today. And we'll soon roll out after that, but it's essentially allowing the collectors to understand the full picture of what's going on with this member. AI summarizes it as soon as they land on the workspace. They can ask questions. It suggests what to do next, whether it's a good fit for a hardship application, maybe we're at settlement already, and so on. So just that in the day-to-day world for the collector too is a great opportunity for AI. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I use AI all day long in my work. So collectors should have that same capability to ask those questions. What's the largest payment they've had in the last 30 days? Have they missed X number of payments? They can go ahead and ask whatever they want, and they don't have to click around to find that information. It's going
Yeah,
to be able to serve that to them. So
I love it.
it's here to stay. AI, it is here to stay, and it's making our lives a lot easier for sure.
I love it.
I love that. And Matthew, I would like to get your thoughts on being at a credit union that's working with AKUVO. I would like to get your thoughts on what that partnership looks like and how has it made your life easier? If you wouldn't mind expanding on that for me.
Yeah, no problem. No, it's it has made our life a lot easier. We've been on the platform now about a year and a half. Um, and we came from the old Jack Henry package on Scimitar, which is about as bare bones as you can get. So, we did our vetting. We talked to several others as well, but AKUVO had the best product and the best value combined. So we went with AKUVO, and yeah, the even before we started doing all the add-ons that they have, um, it was an immediate lift to productivity and the ease of our collectors being able to see the data in one place and not have to click around. They have connectors to our most common vendors. We use State National for CPI, for example. We no longer have to go to the CPI, the State National website. We can just click in AKUVO and it takes us right to State National and shows us all the insurance information.
Mm.
And then we have a dedicated account representative who we work with, and they do regular calls with us on the various things we're implementing. And we have questions about what we want to implement. So there's always somebody who is very responsive. And if they don't have the answers, they definitely get them from somewhere else. So, and their implementation processes have been very efficient. And like I said, they meet our deadlines. And I tell them, hey, I got a goal to get this in by this date. Can we make sure we get it in? It gets in. So it's been great. And as we've added on things like the texting, the virtual collector, that we're already seeing lifts from that. That reduces the number of phone calls that need to be made and allows you to focus on the more important phone calls and the more important activities. So yeah, it's been a great partnership. We love it.
And I hope one thing that
Awesome.
you're seeing, Matt, is the fact that we're forward thinking too,
Mhm.
with the AI initiatives that we have with giving AI to the members, but also to the collectors. And I think you're in the process of potentially leveraging one of our models that we have to better predict those risk signals. So there's a lot that we're focused on, and we're moving really, really fast to give people like Matt at Uncle everything they need to be more efficient.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not a hey, you sign on with what you get, and that's what you get. Yeah, it's there have already been numerous additions. The texting, for example, was not something that AKUVO offered. You had to partner with a third party. Solutions by text and the other ones that are out there. But there was demand that AKUVO saw for native texting, where you wouldn't have to do that partnership, and you could do it directly through the collection system. So it's in there now. And it's very easy to use, very easy to set up. So, and then, yeah, all the AI things you guys have a conference. I went to last year's conference, and some of the things you talked about, I saw demoed at that conference, and now they're coming into implementation stages. So, yeah, definitely a forward-thinking company, very, very progressive on that. And that's a good thing to have as a partner.
Yeah, I love that you touched on that because when looking at AKUVO as a CUS partner, those are some of the qualities that stood out to us, right? We always look for mission alignment. Like, are you going to be able to help the credit unions that need help, and are you forward thinking and bringing new solutions to the marketplace that are going to help us not only survive this crazy time we're in, but thrive in it and serve our members to the best of our ability. So when, the question came up with AKUVO, it was a natural fit there. All right, Zach, anything else, sir?
I want to play with the AI that you have. I want to, because I love to touch all the AI tools but other than that, no, I think this is great. I loved your insight about the member journey part of it. I think it's a really different, unique way to do what you're already doing, but be intentional about it. And so thank you, Matthew and Abby. Both obviously know the systems that you're working with really well, but are also really prepared for what's coming down the line. So thanks for sharing the friction with us today.
Yeah, no,
Thank you
thank you
for
for
having
having us.
us.
Yeah, and giving us this opportunity.
All right, cool. We'll see everybody on Thursday at 10 a.m. for our next Friction Point. Thank you all for joining us.